Hey guys, this is Coach Becca here, and this is my husband, Coach Elliott, who just finished a run and will be joining us today. Equipment is optional, but if you have these things, you can use them today. A PVC stick or a broomstick, a circle band, and a foam roller. Of course, we're going to demonstrate both with and without the equipment, so don't worry if you have some, all, or none of the things we listed. Okay, let's start with an overhead squat. So bring the arms up. Watch me do one here. Regular old squat. Perfect, that's what it looks like with the stick, and here we go. So we're going to be demonstrating all the repetitions today. For the most part, we're doing between 10 and 12 reps of everything that you see. This movement in particular, it's fine if your feet are slightly turned out and just outside the shoulders. Great work. Awesome job on that overhead squat. All right, coming up next, I'm going to demonstrate a single leg reach. Here's what it looks like with the stick. You're just going to hinge at the hips as you soften your knee and reach towards your ankle. Without the stick, it's exactly the same. Don't worry about losing your balance slightly. We want to minimize that, but think about engaging your core and kind of being rigid in your trunk, and that should help. Don't worry about reaching really low or touching the floor. Just try to give me a great looking movement here. You'll notice that we're pulling the knee through now. That's just kind of a run specific movement, that knee drive, which we always want to highlight and train if we can. You'll also notice I'm wearing shoes, or that Elliott's wearing shoes and I'm not. You can choose to do this workout barefoot if you'd like, but having shoes on is fine as well. Okay, let's switch sides here. Shake it out if you need to. Definitely strengthening the ankle and all the stability muscles in your foot, especially if you're barefoot. So definitely want to encourage you guys to try a couple movements barefoot if you're willing. Again, we're bringing that knee drive in. You can incorporate that as soon as you'd like to. If it's really throwing you off on balance, though, we really want to, maximize our stability on this movement. So don't make it more complex than you need to. And if you lose your balance right there, like Coach Elliott did, maybe you're tired from your run, slow it down, reset, and jump back in when you're ready. Again, think about knitting that core together, digging your toes into the floor, breathing evenly. It's amazing how much a breath can help you. So inhale and exhale smoothly today. All right, awesome job on those single leg reaches. Up next, we've got a forward lunge to a 90-degree twist. So you're gonna step forward, rotate, step back. Perfect work. And we're gonna do all on the right side and then all on the left. So just kind of stick to one side, focus on one side. We're just working on crossing planes of movement here. So we're gonna move forward, down, and then rotate. So this is a pretty run specific movement. You do rotate in your trunk a lot when you run. You also use your quads and glutes a lot. So stick with us here as we get all the way to about 12 on each side. We're gonna make sure you're even here. So again, use your breath like I just mentioned. Inhale, rotate, exhale, push back. That's a good pattern to get into. We're doing our lunges, at a moderate effort. So if you feel like we're moving too quickly for you, just hit pause, do your 12 reps, switch sides, do your 12 reps, and jump back in with us. There's no rush at all today. Awesome job. And we're going to switch sides right here. So same movement, just on the other leg. So lunge forward and rotate. The movement is honestly exactly the same with the stick. A stick is just a great reminder of how to rotate and to keep your posture strong. A lot of these movements we focused on posture because the spine is really important to take care of, especially if you're a runner and find yourself seated a lot during the day. We want to make sure that we're taking care of that torso, making sure our posture is strong. So the stick is definitely a good tool for that, but it's not necessary. Keep working on these. You're looking strong here in the lunge to twist. Well done. All right, you can rest. Up next, there's two movements that you can do. The first one is going to utilize the band. That's going to be a lateral band walk. So you're going to circle that band around the ankles if you have one. If you don't, I'll show you something completely different that you can do. Once the bands are on the ankles, take a small step out and a small step in so that you always have tension in the bands. Okay? If you don't have a band, go ahead and watch me. I'm just going to do a standing lateral leg raise. So I'm doing 12 repetitions here. If you're doing a band walk, you really want to make sure there's always tension in the band like I mentioned. So big step, little step. Both of these movements utilize lateral movement, which is something you don't get a lot of when you run, but it's really common to get injured here. Strengthens the glutes, which can help take some pressure off those IT bands if you're got some bad running form. So, all right, let's rest here with a quick forward bend. You can just leave the ankle band on if you have it. We'll do the other side here in a minute, or you're going to do a second set of the lateral band walk if you have a band on. Stretching up that low back, kind of relaxing those hamstrings and low back muscles, stretching out the glutes here as we strengthen them. Okay, bring it back up, and let's do the other side without the band. And if you do have a band, give me a second set of band walks. Again, both movements target your glutes, specifically the ones in charge of lateral movement. So your glute medius is really, an important movement here. It's a fancy word. But again, a lot of times runners have injuries caused from weak glutes and then overactive muscles to compensate for that. So we're kind of training you out of some of these imbalances. Even though this isn't a running specific movement, it will specifically help you with your running. So great job. Knitting that core together, looking strong. Great job. Okay, up next we're going to do two types of bridges. The band version is to pull the band up just around your knees, and the non-banded version looks exactly the same. The band is just going to, again, help strengthen some of those weak glute muscles that don't get activated unless we tell them to. So lay on your back, keep the feet just a little bit away from your butt, and you're going to drive your hips as you exhale. So deep breath in, exhale, and press the hips up. Push. There's number 3. Push number 4. Push number 5. There's number 6. Good tempo here. Exhale as you push. 7. 8. There's 9. There's 10. 11. Looking strong. 12. Perfect work. And now as a rest, really similar to what we did before, you're going to get a seated forward bend, again, to stretch out the low back and the hamstrings. You want to touch briefly on if your feet should be flat versus your toes elevated. Elliot did lift his toes, where I kept my toes flat. It's actually great to do both variations of the glute bridge. So on our next set, if you'd like to try that variation, the toes up variation, you're more than welcome to. It is good for strengthening those shin muscles. So here we go. Here's our second set. If you want to lift the toes, help strengthen up those shins. If you want to push the toes flat down and focus on the glutes and core, also fine. Variety is the spice of life, and while we don't want to train into any imbalances, we also want to try new things and let our body move the way that they were born and designed to move. So everyone's going to move a little differently today. The way you do something is going to be different than the way me and Elliot do them, so embrace that while you check your form. Great job on both those sets of bridges. If you have a band on, now is a fine time to remove it. I will be demonstrating the band movement next. It's going to be a lateral plank walk, and if you have a band and you're feeling strong, this is a very tough version of a plank. If you don't have a band, follow along with Elliot. So we're going to be up on our hands. If you got a band around your wrists, you're going to follow me. Without a band, follow Elliot. So both, we're going to step to the left or right with both our arms and our feet, and then back. So the arm movement's really small. You can't see my hands really well. We accidentally cut it off, but I'm only moving about an inch. The idea here is that you coordinate your upper body movement and your lower body movement. So you're stepping laterally while holding that plank, and that's going to help build some lateral core stability, which is, again, something we don't get when we're running, but we really need as human beings. So take small steps and focus on the coordination. Try to time it with the arms and the legs there, and minimize or quiet your hip movements. Great work. Looking strong. You got the hang of it now. And rest. Take a brief rest here. Not a ton of repetitions, but again, we don't need a ton of repetitions on this one. T-spine rotations are next. So on all fours, place one hand behind your head. Rotate that elbow down to the opposite knee as you drop your hips back, and then reach that elbow towards the sky. So you're sitting back, coming up, and rotating. Again, elbow to opposite knee, rotate to open. And we're again working the posture, working rotation through your trunk. Great, again, if you run a lot and need that rotation, a little bit of that rotation. And if you're seated at a desk all day, this one's really good for the mid-back. One of my favorite movements here for athletes. Very good. You might want to pause this. We're going to switch sides, but if that's a new movement for you, now's a great time to kind of perfect that. So let's try the same thing on the other side. Again, hand behind the head, reach the elbow towards the opposite knee, and then open as much as you can. You might be surprised at how much or little movement you have, and that's just something to take note of. Are you mobile through your spine, or do you lack mobility there? And if you lack mobility, this is a movement you can incorporate 4 to 6 times per week, believe it or not, and see some good results in your movement and in your posture. Good job on those T-spine rotations. We're going to go back to a lateral plank walk. This time, if you've got a band, try putting it around your ankles. It's a little easier in my opinion, and it just targets your glutes instead of like your shoulder blades. So while one strengthens the upper body, the other one's going to strengthen the lower body. So here we go. Step out and then step together. Right hand, foot both move together at the same time. Again, with the band, you're targeting your glutes versus your upper body while you train your lateral core stability. Without the band, you're working on lateral core stability. So both are really great movements. The band just adds some variety, adds a little intensity. So make it your own. Put that in your pocket. The lateral plank walk is a great movement. Okay, take a rest here. Remove the band from the ankles. Great job. If you have a foam roller, you can grab it now. We're going to use it just for this brief exercise. And if you don't have a foam roller, follow along with me. You're going to lay with the foam roller in line with your spine if you have one. You can even rest your neck right there at the top so your neck isn't strained. If you don't have a foam roller, just simply lay on your back. And I'm going to demonstrate that one. It's a pretty easy movement to get into. So get situated on that foam roller. Keep your palms on the ground for balance. Bring your knees 90 degrees from your hips. And then tap your heel to the floor, and then switch sides. So your one knee should always be 90 degrees over your hips, and you should maintain the same angle in your knee. So you're just gonna touch the floor, and then switch sides, touch the floor. The foam roller adds a little degree in difficulty. It can help give you kind of a little bit of a massage while you're doing this. You'll notice I just brought my arms up in the modified version without a foam roller. You can handle doing this one without the palms on the ground. You don't need the extra balance that you would if you had a foam roller. So this one's great for training core coordination and hip extension. So this is a movement that's far superior to, say, a sit-up, which tightens your hip flexors. This one activates your core while lengthening your hip flexors. So good job. Great work on those. Feel free to incorporate a second set if you'd like. That is just a money exercise. So you can put that foam roller to the side. If you have a foam roller up next, you are going to foam roll your hip flexors. Like I mentioned, those get tight really quickly, really easily, especially if you run and sit often, which is a problem I face with a lot of my athletes. So I'm going to demonstrate how to foam roll your hip flexors, while Elliot's just going to demonstrate a hip flexor stretch known as the half kneeling runner's lunge. So here you'll see that the hip flexor, it's kind of that pocket muscle. It's kind of a 3 to 4 inch muscle, group of muscles that's right at your pocket. So I'm just kind of using that foam roller like a rolling pin on my right side, and my left knee is just, and left foot are kind of helping me push back and forth as I get into that gritty, tight area. You can tell by the look on my face it's not really very comfortable. So let's switch sides here on both those hip stretches. You'll notice that Elliot's just in that half kneeling lunge position, and he's just stretching out the hip flexor. He's lengthening it, so he's just going to hold for about 15 seconds, and I'm going to foam roll my hip flexor for about 15 seconds. You can do it longer if you like. This is a movement and a practice that's really beneficial and probably should be done each day, but we all know that doesn't happen. So again, use that foam roller as a giant rolling pin, and use the opposite side, the opposite leg, to kind of push it back and forth. I like to keep the corner just right there on my pocket. So good job on those stretches or that foam rolling. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do a running drill. So Elliot and I are going to do the same movement with different apparatus. So if you have a chair handy, you can use the back of a chair. I'm going to use the railing. You can also use the wall. So this is a very run-specific drill. What you're going to do is get to a slightly forward-leaning position, like we want to have when we're running, just a slight forward lean. Draw one knee up and then switch with us. So here we go. Switch, 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 switch. You really want to drive the knee. Switch, keep the forward lean, switch, 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 and rest. Good job. Now if that movement got awkward, it was likely because you were letting your feet come in towards the wall or chair. So this movement helps teach the knee drive, develops coordination, helps with timing, and builds that integrity on one leg. So feel free to pause, hit rewind, and do it again. Okay, seated hip rotation. So this is kind of a funky position to get in. One leg behind, one leg in front. And you're going to follow Elliot if you're tight in the hips, and me if you're a little bit more mobile. So you'll notice I just moved his heels away from his butt. Sometimes this movement helps if you can kind of reposition your feet and work with what you've got in terms of mobility. So we're stretching out. There you can see me adjusting Elliot again. We're stretching out and rotating through our hips, getting mobility through our hips. With the hands down or the hands up, either is fine. Seated hip rotation is one of the best movements you can do, especially if you're an endurance athlete. So good work. Great stretch, great mobility here. Good rotation, building that hip joint, helping you stay injury free. Awesome work. Okay, flip on over so that you're on all fours. We're going to do another lateral movement for the glutes and core called the fire hydrant. So Elliot's going to be level 1, I'm going to be level 2. So my leg's going to be straight out to the side, 90 degrees from my hip, and Elliot's going to do the bent knee version. Okay, so we're going to do 12 here. Jump on in with us. Try to exhale as you lift your knee or your leg. Inhale as you bring it down. Good job. And the goal for that breath is just, again, to kind of get the diaphragm breathing down. It's a good thing for your posture. It's a good practice to have. Exhale on the exertion point. You may switch sides here. Same thing. Lift the leg or the knee. So we're training those glutes, training the core, and even if you can, think about the breath pattern a little bit. Awesome work. Looking smooth here. Well done. You can rest. We're going to do another set of those in a moment, but first we're going to do a kneeling or full plank rotation. So up on your hands, you're going to reach up towards the ceiling, return, and then switch sides. Rotate. So you're rotating through your core. I'm going to do the kneeling version, so follow me if you're a little intimidated by this movement. Try to keep the hips flat. It's actually even harder to keep those hips from sneaking up when you're on your knees. So just be careful here that you're keeping those hips down, those hips quiet, and rotate as much as you can. So it's going to strengthen the obliques and give that spine a nice stretch again. If it helps you, if you're in the full version like Elliot, you can completely lay those heels on the floor as you rotate. It's truly up to you and what feels the most comfortable for your body. Big stretches here as we train that core. Nice job. Bring it back down to all fours. We've got our last set of those lateral knee or leg raises. Here we go. Lift and lift. Keep that neck neutral. I know you got to check the TV every once in a while to see what we're doing, but try to keep that neck neutral as much as you can. Great work. Looking strong here. Switch sides. Finish strong on this side. Last set of these, and then we're going to do another set of those plank rotations. So you should be learning some new movements, or definitely fine-tuning movements that maybe you did before and didn't realize the form on. So we're happy to be good demonstrations here for you today. All right, rest. Let's get those second set of rotations done. So get back into that plank position on the hands, so the extended plank, and begin those rotations. Kneeling or full is fine. Here we go. Let's really maximize those obliques, maximize our movement. Reach and rotate, squeeze those glutes. Exhale as you reach, inhale as you come back to plank. You're looking lean and mean today, guys. Great work, fam. You can do it. Finish strong. I know you've had a long day. Likely you're just getting this done after a run and probably a hard work day, or maybe you're an early riser, an early run, and you've got a big day ahead of you. Just know that this is going to energize you, rejuvenate your body for your next run session or walk. So we're happy and proud of you for doing this today and making the time. All right, let's stretch it out in child's pose. Go ahead and bring it out of child's pose into upward dog. So stretch those hips flat on the floor, flatten out those toes, open the chest, and take a few deep breaths here. Ideally in through the nose and out through the mouth. Think about all the great things you did today, both in this workout, on your run, in your day. All right, pull the toes underneath of you and drive the hips towards the ceiling as you stretch back into downward dog. Ideally, you pedal the feet here and give your calves a little stretch. So alternating little foot pedals as you stretch out the calves one at a time. Nice stretch on the lats, hamstrings, and glutes too. Slowly begin walking your hands in, bending the knees as you need to until you're in your final forward bend of the day. Slowly bring it up, and you nailed it. Awesome job today, guys. Thanks to my husband for joining me. Great work. Be sure to hit subscribe and visit our website for more great information. Cheers to you guys.